Welcome back to the Every Muse podcast, the space where we dive deep into the minds of modern women making bold moves, building beautiful things, and rewriting the rules along the way. Today's episode is one that will hit home for anyone standing at the edge of a dream and wondering, do I have what it takes to take the leap? I'm joined by not one, but two incredible women, Jennifer O'Connell and Aoife Matthews, two of three powerhouse co-founders of Sisterly, a supplement brand designed entirely and exclusively to meet the needs of women. In this episode, we're going to talk about everything from brave career pivots to the reality of co-founding a business with your friends, to the courage it takes to build something from scratch. If you've ever felt the call to create, to lead, or start again, take this conversation as a sign. Jennifer, Aoife, thank you so much for being my guests on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Let's get into it. So, how would you describe Sisterly? What's the sort of heartbeat of your brand?
So the heartbeat of the brand, when we were coming up with names for the brand, we knew that we wanted to be no nonsense, trustworthy, a place where you go to get really good advice. And that's kind of your sister. So when we were talking about, and Aoife came up with the name Sisterly, it's such a good name.
It's a great name.
We love it. And we really felt it kind of encapsulates exactly who we want to be in the world, kind of that sister who you go to for advice. They'll tell you things probably that you may not want to hear sometimes, but they always have your back, and they want the best for you. And that was the kind of business that we wanted to build in the supplement space, which we felt was very overwhelming and very confusing. And there was, some products out there that may not be as good as they should be. And we were like, okay, we want to be really trustworthy and, just be there for each other like sisters.
I love that name. I thought you guys were sisters when I heard about the brand, and it felt like, you basically are. You guys are, I think, building a business together, and you've known each other for so long. But it's a great name.
Exactly. A lot of people do think we're sisters, but it's what a sister means. It's not necessarily your blood relation, but it's the person you care about, your friends, your family, your wider circle of girlfriends. And as Jenny said, we all support each other. And who do you turn to for support and advice? It's your sister, your loved one, your friends.
We sometimes say the sister from another mister.
Yeah.
It's broader than the blood relation, But actually, we met each other through my older sister. So, my older sister and Aoife were great friends. And actually, their husbands were in college together in Cambridge. And it was my older sister who said to me, you should really talk to this pal of mine. And we'd met a few times, but we hadn't really sat down. But I think we were both having conversations with my sister Anna about what we wanted to do next and, kind of frustrations with the careers that we were in. So she's like, you two,
That's
go
lovely.
sit down and stop annoying me with these conversations that you're both having with me.
Complain to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and we just hit it off then straight away. It was like, okay, this is great. Yeah.
I always find that the people that I love the most introduce me to the other people I love the most. And it's always like a chain of people that I love.
Phenomenal.
So true.
And actually, we've met so many amazing women on this journey as well with Sisterly. There are so many incredible women out there, men too, but we we focus on the women.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Louise, our third co-founder as well, who was actually, both of us knew Louise separately for many, many years. And we both, Louise lived with me while I was in London for a while. And she also lived with Jenny in New York.
Wow.
It was really funny. We had connected and kind of talked about wanting to solve a problem for ourselves. And, this whole supplement piece, Aoife had been doing a health and nutrition course, and it was mid-COVID. And I remember saying to her, I have this great friend in LA. We should really talk to her. That's kind of the forefront of health and wellness, and we'll see what's innovative that's happening over there. And I was like, I used to know when I was in New York, her name's Louisa Reardon. And it was the funniest thing. If it just goes, yeah, I lived with her in London for a few years. It was like, no way.
Yeah. It's a very Irish moment, there's so many connections.
So meant to be, though.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
serendipitous things like that.
Yeah.
So why a supplement brand for women?
When this was during COVID, and we were looking, talking about how we support each other and support your health, and how focusing initially on immunity, but then also, I was entering into perimenopause at the time, and we were having those, health conversations. What are you taking? I was in Madrid at the time. Jenny was in Dublin. Louise was in LA, and we were all kind of saying, "What are you taking? What are you doing?" And it became very clear to all three of us that the supplement space is so overwhelming and it's so hard to figure out what we actually need as women to put into our bodies to keep us well. So there's so much noise and confusion. And I had just done a health and wellness course. And I had a number of my friends asking me as well, should I be taking this? Should I be doing that? And what about this? And, we were all taking so many different things. It just became very clear to us that the supplement space, one, is overwhelming. Two, there was very little out there really for women. And we didn't really know what we needed. We always say women are not small men. Our bodies are different, and we need different nutrients and different things to support our bodies and our health. So we felt women deserve better. There must be a supplement out there that is developed specifically for the female body to deal with our concerns, and that is simple and straightforward and easy to take.
We used to always think, wasn't it crazy that the common way that supplements are made is on a one-size-fits-all basis? Yeah. So, formulators are looking at an 18-year-old boy and a 58-year-old woman and saying they both need the same thing. And we're like, that doesn't make sense. We know we've a hormone cycle. We go through all these different life stages. And we knew that if you focused specifically on the female body, you'd be able to come up with a better solution that really targeted our needs.
Yeah.
So, I think that for us was very meaningful.
And I've heard you talk about studies actually in previous interviews where clinical research for supplements or any kind of medication really didn't take women into account until 1993.
That's right, yeah.
Is that right?
So it was only then mandated that women needed to be included in clinical trials.
That's crazy.
So a lot of the drugs that we would take, or the Ambien or other drugs that we commonly take, were actually developed with the male body in mind, and not actually studied on the female body. So less than 5% of all research money, health money, going into research to fund new development, is spent on female-specific issues.
Less than 5%.
Less than 5%. Yet we make up 50% of the population, and actually suffer, health issues a lot more than men do, which people don't necessarily realize. So women are twice as likely to suffer from Alzheimer's. Cardiac arrest affects more women die from cardiac arrest than men. But we always think of the men having a heart attack, whereas actually more women suffer. So there's all these health issues that affect us differently and affect women proportionally in a bigger way that haven't really been delved into on the research side. So there's a huge amount of research that's needed and investments, which we're starting to see. It's becoming, there is a bit of a turning point there, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
There was one anecdote that really blew my mind. You probably think that like most issues around female health have been resolved.
Yeah.
We're in the workplace, we have the vote. But it's really something that's happening in our lifetime, in the immediate time. So as recently as February of 2024, they found a new molecule in the female cell line called the exist molecule. And they believe that that's the reason why 4 out of 5 people who suffer from autoimmune conditions are female. And so that's so disproportionate when you're thinking of rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, things like that. 4 out of 5 people who suffer from those conditions are female. Yeah. And this exist molecule may explain why that is, why it's so disproportionately affecting women. But they didn't even know it was there, because in most laboratories, the typical cell line used is the male cell line. And there was an assumption made that the male cell line was the same as the female cell line, which is crazy when you think about the fact that we have an XX chromosome and men have an XY chromosome. And the exist molecule is there because of our XX chromosome. And because there was no realization of its existence, there's been late diagnosis, there's been an inability to, find solutions for these issues. But now they believe, and that's as recently as February 2024. I mean, that blows, it was in Stanford University. Those kind of things blow our mind.
Yeah, that's actually made me really emotional. I don't know why.
Because you think of all those people who have, autoimmune conditions are horrific.
Yes.
With the inflammation in the joints, and they're really debilitating. And if you think of all those women who have been suffering unnecessarily because nobody was trying to identify the differences between the male and the female body, and this big assumption that we're just small men. As Dr. Stacey Sims always says, women are not small men. We're different.
Completely. Oh God, that's made me really upset and angry.
It makes us very angry. It really does.
Is
Yeah.
it, when you are kind of in that space, is it hard? I think it's changing now, but is it hard when the entire world sees something one way and you know that there's a whole market out there, but they think that they know the market? They have one idea of the world, usually men, and cater to men and think they're also catering to women by catering to men. And so is it hard to then say, no, there is actually an entirely different market that you've just ignored your entire life? Is that kind of been an uphill struggle?
I think there is an awareness there now. Whereas
yeah.
before there wasn't, and there's been a lot of literature written on this, various books, and people are talking about it now.
Yeah.
And even, menopause, for example, a lot of people are talking about that now, whereas they weren't 5 years ago. So it's so recent, as Jenny said, but we do feel like it's the start of something great. So, we really want to kind of raise awareness of female health issues, and it's a really important driver for us. So there's so many voices out there now that are talking about it. So I think we view it more now in a positive light, that there's so much to be done, and I think now we're starting. So it'll take a while to catch up, but at least we're on the right track.
Good. I'm glad. And well done to you guys for being in that space and taking things forward.
It's a real opportunity. I think that when you feel very passionate about something and you've got a bit of fire in your belly, it's a wonderful motivator. And, it's kept us on track, because it's very tempting sometimes to try to be all things to all people. So sometimes people are saying, when's Brotherly coming? For us, we know exactly why we're doing what we're doing, and that therefore really keeps us very focused. We know we want to focus on female health specifically because we've had the lived experience. I was a barrister for 22 years and Aoife was in investment banking and Louise was in brand development. And between the three of us, we've all had that lived experience of aging parents, small kids, busy lifestyle, struggling to juggle, the pressure to look the part. All of that lived experience, we're really aware that sometimes women of our generation are called the sandwich generation, because, we charged into careers, but we were also left with, a lot of responsibilities at home. And it's really hard to keep the show on the road. So we really know that we're trying to come up with something that will help women like us who are juggling a lot and whose health kind of struggles, and suffers as a result of all this endless to-do list of things. So we were really let's develop a really simple supplement routine that it's taking loads of things off your to-do list, and it's super easy to do it every day, and it's potent and it's powerful, and it will actually make women feel better to be able to be there for all the people that they love and to do all the things they want to do and actually have a better quality of life. That's really what we wanted to achieve with this. Is we wanted a better quality of life, and we wanted other women to experience it too.
I think that's incredible. I was sort of mindful of the supplements I was taking this morning before meeting you guys. And I think I took 6 different supplements, one after the other, chugging down water in between each one. And I was like, this is really not fun. I don't know what exactly is in the things I'm taking. I know the marketing on the box says, there's this, this, and this, but I also know that this supplement already has some of this, but then has this. And someone told me that this was also really good. But I don't feel a difference at all. I'm just taking it because I'm meant to be taking things.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It is because the industry it's so confusing, and the packaging and the terminology. And unless you have a degree in it, there's no way you can figure out what's really in there and is it right for you. And then I think we all had the issue ourselves that I had a whole drawer of supplements as well that I would take, and then because someone told me to take, and then I'd forget 2 weeks later and take something else, and then it wasn't working because you're not taking it. And we call it the supplement graveyard. And everyone seems to have one, where you have all these bottles, you get so enthusiastic and you get recommended so many things, and then you don't end up taking them. So it's really such a waste.
So true.
And it shouldn't be such a nightmare that you have to take your 6 pills in the morning. I think the record we had was one of Louise's friends in LA, 24 capsules she was swallowing every day to keep her well. And, who has the time to do that,
No,
right?
but it's exhausting on your digestive
You
system.
feel a
Can you
bit
imagine
sick.
trying to break
It's
that
breakfast.
all down?
No.
I mean, you've been wrecked by
Yeah.
8:30 in the
Yeah.
morning, like just trying to digest all those capsules and
It's true.
tablets. And I think Louise and I were particularly kind of anti-pills and capsules. We found them really hard to take. You probably, Aoife was more diligent on kind of, this is good for me now and I'm going to do it. So we were really into the kind of the consumer experience, a shot in the morning of a powder, in a kind of like that you can just take it and go
And be done.
and it's so much easier to digest. It's much more bioavailable. It's much easier on the system. And if the experience is easier, you're more likely to do it every day. And if you take your supplements every day consistently, you unlock all those benefits that have been shown through clinical trials, provided it's enough of a dose and it's the right form of the nutrient, you're away. And you really do feel the benefits. And that's our own personal experience and the experience of everybody who's kind of on the journey with us. It's fab.
Can't wait to try it. I just feel like having a sachet is just so much better if I know it has everything I need. Just sort of rip it out, put it in my water, gulp it down. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And the difference is because you can get multivitamins in a capsule, but if you think about it, there's very little room in a capsule. So, if you wanted to take systole in capsules, you'd be, it's maybe 6 capsules that you have to take. So, to get enough of a dose. So, what the difference with systole is that we have what's equivalent of like a standalone dose of magnesium, for example. So, we have 150 mgs of magnesium, 150 mgs of coenzyme Q10. We have the proper standalone dosages, but in one simple sachet.
Hi everyone, just a short break to say thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, please do hit the follow button. It means so much to me and really makes a difference to a new podcast like this one. Also, I would love if you could leave a rating and a review. When you're creating in a vacuum, it's not always apparent whether the episodes are resonating or not, and that's why your feedback is so important to me. It means that I can actually put out episodes that you want and will enjoy. Thanks so much. Back to the episode. I've heard that actually the quality of your ingredients is top notch.
Yeah, I mean, just like any food that you may buy, there's such a variation in the quality. So if you want to have your organic beef from the butchers or, your fresh fruit, or your shop bought manufactured, synthetic goods, it's exactly the same with nutrients. And the more natural, bioavailable, which are the ones that work better in your body, they're the ones that replicate, I suppose, what you're eating or you should be getting from your diet. And they're the ones that we've made sure that we've included because that's what the body recognizes as the more natural variant and then is absorbed. So you have the likes, for example, of B12, which is phenomenal. A lot of us are very deficient in B12, really good for energy in particular. But there's 2 main forms. One is methylcobalamin, which is a methylated form, which is a natural form that the body absorbs well. And the other is cyanocobalamin, which is a much cheaper form. So you'll see it in a lot of products, but actually it's very synthetic and it causes huge stomach upset and the body doesn't recognize it and doesn't absorb it. So for the average consumer who sees they're getting B12, but it's very hard for them to decipher, to know which is the better form. So for us, it was absolutely, if we were going to do this, it had to be the most bioavailable, natural form of every single ingredient. And that's what we've done. And we're very proud of that. And that's why it works so well.
But it's probably important to say that we didn't formulate the product
because that's true.
You really shouldn't be trusting a product formulated by a barrister and a banker and a brand developer. That wouldn't be ideal. What we worked with a team of experts. So Dr. Daniel Jones was our lead formulator, and we really did give him carte blanche to just put in there the best of everything. And he was saying it's the first time he's ever been given the luxury of developing something in that way, because typically I think, big corporates would sit around a boardroom table and decide, okay, this is the price point that we want to hit because we think that this is what the consumer will welcome and will be able to scale up from here. And then they work backwards and take off marketing, packaging, manufacturing. And then you might be left with like €2 for the ingredients or £2. And so Dr. Daniel Jones would normally have been given a limit as to like the product cost must fall within this, the ingredient costs must fall within this. Whereas we didn't give him any restrictions at all. We didn't even set a target on what the price should be or what the ingredients. We just said the best of everything, please. The essential non-negotiable nutrients that women need every single day, and get us the best forms and the best versions of each of them, and then we will work it from there. So he was like, this is the dream. I get to, these, I know from the studies, and I know, that this is the best manufacturer and that's the best form of it and this is the optimum dose. And we had this panel of experts over and back for 3 years inputting on what the synergy of the nutrients should be and what the combination should be. And, that was wonderful actually having all that expert input, because I think, again, when I was a barrister, I would see experts going into court, really well respected, qualified people, on two sides of a case, saying black and white, and they both might have had justifications for putting forward their points, but it was kind of like, how can both of those things be true? So we were like, under no circumstances were we just listening to one person and following one line of logic. We wanted there to be a lot of homework checking. So we brought together this really good panel of 4. Dr. Mandy Leonhardt, Susie Perry and Adrian Byrne were working alongside Dr. Daniel Jones. And they were all working away on this to figure out what was the best thing to put into that one little sachet. There's so much work that's gone into it. You've no idea.
No, I believe
But
you.
it was such a labor of love. And I think the quality comes from the fact that you'd all these really smart people with decades of experience working away on this so diligently. And the only thing they had to do was make sure it was the best of everything.
This is real self-care in the sense that it's like the best of all the ingredients that your body needs. It's real nourishment. And I think people, when they know that something is the best and it really works, as opposed to sort of like cheap supplements, I think people, women especially, are likely to spend money on it.
I think they need it. I think that we definitely don't feel that this is, another pair of cashmere socks, that you're trying to sell something to somebody and maybe they don't need it. This is something that women do need. They're struggling. They're looking for something to make themselves feel more energetic and not get the same colds and flus and get better sleep. And, that's all part of, and looking for a kind of hormonal balance, through the monthly cycle. So we know that there's a need there. And it's interesting. I think that because women in particular have so many challenges, I think that when they see something that works and they trust their friends, when they hear from their friends and they read our reviews, and you can tell how genuine the reviews are. Like, we have not been drumming up reviews for the sake of it or anything like that. They're real, genuine, personal stories of how people are feeling better. Women trust that, and they will trust their friends telling them, I'm feeling really good on this. You should give it a go. A lot of people say to us, I don't know how or why this works, but it does. I feel great. And I think that, and when you say that women won't spend the money on themselves, we had a really, like a review that we often quote because it really took us, like we all just stopped and thought, wow, this is so true. A lady who is from Ireland, she was a nurse, a farmer, a mother. And she said that she looked at the sisterly supplement and, considered it and thought, oh gosh, do I want to spend that on myself every month? And then she realized that she spent more on the animals in the house every month than she was willing to spend on herself. And she just kind of said, so I really thought I'm worth it. Like, she's looking after everybody. Can you think of that? A mother, a nurse, a farmer, like the amount of people and creatures that she's taking care of. And then she started taking it and was feeling wonderful on it. And she was like, thanks a million, girls. And it was such a great review. We just were like so touched by it, because they are the women we want to support, those multitasking women that have so many things to do, and just to make them feel better so that they have the energy to go out and see their friends or to enjoy their children or to, look after their parents or whatever it is, or to enjoy their career, just to have a bit more joy in life. I think that we see these reviews coming in all the time, and they really do. They're almost coming in every single day, 5-star review after 5-star review. It feels very meaningful.
Yeah. I mean, you're making someone feel better. And that is, there's no bigger reward than that, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's amazing. If the body is properly nourished, it's amazing what it can do. Like even better sleep. So women report back better sleep. And then that obviously changes so many factors in your life. You know how it is if you've had a good night's sleep, you have more energy, you feel better. Like the day is different, the following day. So yeah, it really, that's what drives us.
Yeah.
So, and it's phenomenal. So we want to get that sachet into every woman's hand, so they can also kind of feel the benefits.
Because I think you can get used to feeling a certain way, like burnt out, or like, oh, this is my baseline and I'm always operating tired, until you're not. And you're like, wow, this is a revelation. I needed this 10 years ago.
Yeah, a lot of women, people do. They settle, this is it. I just feel tired, particularly with kids and jobs and as we get older. But there's so much you can do. You shouldn't have to live the rest of your life feeling like that.
Yeah.
I think when this is part of kind of the motivation for doing all this, when like we were starting out, I would have done a lot of triathlons. I was really into it and did an awful lot of training. So that's kind of morning and evening, before and after work. And then work was busy as a barrister and then a small kid. So a lot of colds, flus. I think there was 3 rounds of COVID and a dose of shingles at one point. And I was really like going, this is ridiculous. I'm surviving on antibiotics, steroid inhalers, nonsense. And it became such a cycle. I mean, that has been the way it has been for me for decades. Just really, I used to get strep throat. So it was just constantly on antibiotics. And just nourishing your body properly. I obviously was deficient in things. I mean, it's very hard to get from your food what you need. You sometimes don't even know how nutritious your orange or your carrot is, because it may have been sitting on a shelf for ages. It's been transported halfway around the world. It was possibly sitting in storage for ages before then. And then it sits in your kitchen counter and, it's diminishing in nutrient value all the time. And again, I didn't have an organic vegetable patch in my garden. I wouldn't be brilliant at cooking from scratch. So between the jigs and the reels, I clearly wasn't getting what I needed from my food. But since just taking the nutrients that we know we need every single day, that cycle has stopped. And I haven't needed. It was so funny. I did my tax return the other day, and you put in your prescriptions, as part of that. And suddenly, the person who helps me with that was like, "You haven't sent me through your scripts." I was like, "Oh no, I have. I do HRT and prescriptions. That's it." And I used to have about 40 going in the year. Like it was a huge part of my tax return with these blooming prescriptions, and they're just not like. It's just extraordinary when you give your body what it needs to fight off colds and flus and to top you up. Dr. Daniel Jones often says being nutrient deficient is like having 4 hours sleep, whereas when you can top yourself up with the nutrients that you need, it's like 8 hours sleep. And you won't die from 4 hours sleep, but you feel rubbish. Whereas get the full 8 hours and you feel great. So that's why we called it the elevator, because it elevates your every day.
Gosh, I really can't wait. And I'm not just saying that because you're on my podcast. I can't wait. I can't wait to feel that way. How did you fund Sisterly?
Yeah, so we did a small funding round to start with, and we were very lucky to have support from the Irish government. They have what's called the Enterprise Ireland, which helps support startups. So they invested in our business, and we also had some support from family and friends to get going. That was our first round. And then we did another sort of a small round as well, following on from that with more sort of friends and family investment. So not a huge amount, but we are we are at break even now. So the business is funding itself, which is great. So yeah.
And we had some really good strategic investors as well. So we were conscious that we have our experience, but we knew that this was going to be a direct consumer brand. E-commerce is a whole other area, so we're really lucky. One of our investors became our PR, and another of our investors has a huge amount of e-commerce experience. So we were really lucky with our investor group, and some we knew and some we didn't. And it's been like we were explaining to you, we had an investor lunch yesterday. It's the most dynamic group of people. And they were all just, we were doing some blue sky thinking about where we go to next and how we grow, and the input around the table. I mean, it was a really brilliant conversation.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, they're a great group.
That's amazing. And so I guess now I'm seeing you guys, you're going to be in Harrods, or you're already in Harrods?
We launched in Harrods, yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So we're in the UK, we're in Harrods, we're in Whole Foods. We launched yesterday in John Bell and Croydon, that wonderful pharmacy. And we're in the Ned. We're in the spa in the Ned. So yeah, and we've loads more ambitions, and we're on a lot of website retailers.
Yeah, and predominantly we sell online because it is something that, it's a subscription business really, because it's a daily sachet and it's just the easiest way for people, to get their delivery, their monthly or 3 monthly delivery of their sachets. So a lot of people would subscribe online and they get their first monthly delivery, and then we do refills. So it's very environmentally friendly. So you get your delivery through your letterbox, so you never run short. And then in each country, then we have our retail partners, as Jenny said. So so we're seeing great growth through all the channels, which is fantastic.
We had subscription is a word that kind of scares people, and I'm terrible for forgetting to cancel things, and there's nothing worse than things piling up in your home that you don't want, or something coming through and you forgot that you're signed up to it. So we were the North Star for every decision we've made in Sisterly is this is for our mothers, our sisters, our girlfriends and ourselves. We have it on the box. And when it came to subscription, we were discussing this, going, God, it's so annoying though, but subscriptions are kind of irritating when you get something you didn't want. So we do this really good subscription where we remind people before their order goes through. So 5 days beforehand, we send an email saying, your order is about to be processed. Are you sure you want? And if you don't, we make it really easy. There's a button in the email saying pause or cancel, no problem. And because we were thinking of our mums and how frustrated they would be if, it's like mugging somebody when you take money out of their bank account and they didn't want to. And we were trying to make it easy for people to be consistent. So we know it's hard to get down to the shop and replenish. Again, we're trying to take things off the to-do list for these busy women. So we were like, no, it's handy that it should come like your contact lenses, for example, that it comes just when you need it, but don't mug people. Let them stop easily. Make it really easy to pause or cancel, because let people make considered decisions.
Small things like that build trust, I think.
But I think that it's also, why isn't everybody doing that?
No, I know.
Don't treat your customer like a mug. They're not. They're the most decent person in the world because they're backing your business and your idea. So treat them with the utmost respect. It's good manners.
Yeah. But also sometimes people don't feel as strongly about their product as maybe you do. So the product doesn't speak for itself. There are sort of like marketing gimmicks or things in place to help sell the product. And I think sometimes when you just know that your product is the one, you feel confident in it and you're like, it will sell. I don't need to.
Yeah, and for us,
I don't need to mug anyone into buying it.
No, absolutely, that would be the worst thing.
Yeah.
And being authentic is so important for us.
Being honest.
Being honest, yeah. It's like we wouldn't have anyone talking about our product unless they'd actually tried it and experienced it. So if anyone comes to us and wants to try it, we say, well, try it, take it for 3 months and come back to us and speak authentically and honestly about your experience.
And we're really particular about who we kind of team up with to advocate for the brand, because we know everybody should be skeptical about what you see on Instagram. Like, take a step back and try and figure out, is it real or not? And I think we're all very distrustful actually when we hear people talking about things. So we believe that the only way that people can be authentic and convincing is when they have had a genuine experience of something and they are speaking from the heart in relation to their own personal experience. So when people approach us about working with us, we won't agree to anything until we know that they love it and they're taking it every day and they're consistent and they have noticed things themselves. And that is a much slower growth. It's a much slower way to progress probably in terms of advocates and all the rest of it. But I'll tell you the difference. It's so interesting. Even when we hear people talking about their experiences, we're like going, this is amazing. Like the whole, for everybody in the team and everything else, when they know that people are speaking from the heart and talking about their real personal experiences, it just makes the whole system, the whole ecosystem of what we're trying to do work, because it's real reviews, it's real people, it's real experiences. And everybody gets very excited by it then.
I love the fact that a sachet with a powder is not in a plastic coating. There's just something really simple about that makes me want to put that in my body.
Yeah, and for us, it was very important that there was nothing in there that did not serve a purpose for the female body. A lot of those capsules have so many things in there, the capsule itself, and then you have fillers and binders that are just artificial, and they're there just to make the product the way it is, but doesn't serve any purpose. So we were very clear on that from the outset, and we chose our manufacturers very, very carefully, who would work with us to ensure that we only had nutrients in there that actually served a purpose. So we have no no fillers, no binders, no suspension agents, nothing like that isn't natural.
It's funny. So it's a real learning curve for us. So let's say you've got, these kind of machines that make capsules. So you might, let's say zinc, you're taking a zinc capsule. It might only be a tiny amount of zinc that's required, but the capsule shape or the tablet shape is what it is. So they need to fill out the tablet shape with all sorts of other stuff, which is why, like you were talking about, 23 essential nutrients in sisterly. And if you're thinking of you like it, the amount of powder doesn't equate to 23 tablets, but that's because tablets contain so much other stuff that you don't want to be putting into your body every day, but they have to, for manufacturing, fill out the tablet size. So learning all these things, I mean, it really was an eye-opener. And the other thing is powder is really hard to develop because it's going over the tongue. And if you think about these raw ingredients, some of them taste very metallic or pretty nasty. So manufacturers, I mean, Aoife was amazing on the manufacturing. Aoife was absolutely adamant there was going to be no sucralose, no sugars, no anything like that. And it was really brilliant, but that's why it took 3 years and 4 different manufacturers, because they kept saying, oh, no, the way to do powder is you just sneak in a bit of sucralose. It'll taste lovely.
Yeah, it was really disheartening. I was so excited that first manufacturing partner, we a pharmaceutical grade, very high end, top quality. And we were so excited that they would take us on as a startup. And when I remember going there and going into their lab, and I had all the gear on me and the hairnet and the gown and the whole thing, we were doing for our first tastings. And it was just, first of all, didn't taste very nice, because it was our first iteration. And we were like, okay, this needs a bit of work. And they kept saying, oh, just put some sucralose in. And I was like, well, I said, no, we're never doing that. But they kept going on and on about it. And I said, no. And at one point I left the room and I came back in and they gave me something and said, try this. And I tried it and I thought, oh, that tastes quite nice. They said, they put sucralose. Look, it works. I was like, oh my God, we are not doing that. It was unbelievable. And it was just a bit of an eye-opener as to what tactics go on in the background, just to make it easy. So it would have been easy to go, okay, perfect, let's package that up and sell that. But we were never going to do that. So it took us 3 years. And we had to work with a few different manufacturing partners before we actually found the right one that believed in what we wanted to create. And we're delighted now, and it was really worthwhile. And I'm glad we had that time to do it. But some of the tactics in the background in manufacturing it's unbelievable, really.
So now we have a product that doesn't cause a blood sugar spike.
Yeah.
And it's really unique as a powder that it doesn't cause an insulin spike first thing in the morning. So that's really something to be very proud of, because you're starting people's day off the right way. They can take this without their insulin levels shooting through the roof.
Thank you, Aoife.
Well, no, it was a team effort. Like everything, I think, these things always take longer than you think.
Yeah.
But it's for the best.
Yeah. Talking about your life before Sisterly, I know you said that you were a barrister and Aoife was a banker. What was that like, that career pivot? Because making a leap into the unknown is quite nerve-wracking, and I'm just curious to know what was going through your heads at the time when you had the idea for Sisterly.
So it was a COVID project, definitely. I don't know that this would ever have happened were it not for COVID, because it gave us the space and the time to think about this project. But I don't know that we actually realised where we were off to at the beginning. I think it was small, incremental little steps. We knew we wanted to sort out this supplement issue because we found taking supplements tricky. We started taking a few initial steps. We started surveying women about what they wanted most from a supplement. But at that stage, I certainly didn't think I was stepping away from the bar. I mean, I thought we'd be able to do both things at the same time. And Aoife was gone full time before I was. So I was trying to do that quite tricky thing of being a barrister. And I was applying to take Silk at the time to become a senior counsel, which would be the equivalent of a Casey over here. All of that was happening at the same time. So this was kind of like, we were focusing on fundraising and product development and registering the name, all little things. But then it got to the stage when we were just before launch and we had put in 3 years. And at that stage, I think I knew, actually, I think I spoke to Aoife about this, that if we didn't go full tilt, there was going to be regret around not bringing to the party everything that you could. And it felt important. So it was very nerve-wracking, actually, because it felt crazy to be walking away from a 22-year career. I mean, I'd been an attorney in New York before that, and it just felt really spoilt in a way to be walking away from something you'd worked so hard at. You know, kind of that should be enough for you now.
Yeah.
I really felt, personally, I felt if it didn't work, that there'd be people saying, "Oh, she had notions," were we not good enough for her? And I personally was very nervous about it not succeeding and having to go back to the bar with my tail between my legs. Now, I did talk to my really good, loyal solicitors before I left and said to them, if this doesn't work out, I'm coming back and you are briefing me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not taking, and, unfortunately, I built up really good, strong relationships with people over 2 decades. So I knew that I would be briefed again, and I knew I had skills in that area that I would always be able to go back and rely on. But it felt scary.
Yeah,
Very,
of course.
very scary, actually. Sleepless nights, scary.
Yeah. I'm so glad it worked out.
Well, it's working out.
Yeah,
Like, we're not at any sort of finish line.
We've a long way to go.
starting.
We have big ambitions, but we're definitely on the right track. So I'd worked in JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley for many years, but I knew I was coming to that point in my life where I wanted to change and wanted to do something that I was really passionate about, and I'd always been interested in nutrition, sport, being healthy. And that's why at the time, just before starting Sicily, I thought, let me just kind of delve into this nutritional side and see if it's something I really want to do something more with. So I qualified as a health and wellness coach. But again, that was then during COVID when we started having conversations about this opportunity, for Sicily. I felt like I really wanted to do something that was just the passion, the drive, and to do something better, and to create something that I suppose for myself as well and for my kids. It's great. I think it's just that whole focus on the female and supporting women and the young girls, and doing something more than just, I suppose, making money go round, and earning more money. So I think there was a real passion and drive there. And then I was very fortunate then that Jenny was where she was in her career and willing to kind of take the leap as well, and with Louise too. So I think, again, COVID, it throws up so many opportunities because suddenly life is disrupted and it gives you, we had more time in our hands. And I think it gave us the time to be able to kind of delve into the opportunity and sit back and think, actually, there's a real opportunity here. And I think we should really go for it.
When you kind of went all in, what were the first 3 things that you guys did?
I suppose one of them was researching the market, talking to the customers. So we went out and surveyed hundreds of women and saying, what are the issues? Do you feel the same as us? What are the key problems? And that was really interesting, actually, because we thought, people would come back about aging or getting wrinkles. They were the number one concern. But actually it was energy levels.
Yes.
I think it was nearly 100% of women came back saying they wanted more energy. They were feeling tired.
It was during COVID, remember?
True.
And so people were homeschooling and there was a lot going on for people. But that was the top answer.
Yeah.
We did a monkey survey and we sent it out to all our friends on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting.
Really insightful. And then it was about, okay, as Jenny said, we're not going to create this formula. We don't have the expertise here. We had to bring on a team of top experts. If we're going to give up our careers to do this, we have to do this 110% and make the best product we can. So we set about then finding and bringing on board the right experts. And that's where Jenny's barrister role, I think, really came to the fore when she was cross-examining all these poor experts to make sure they were top notch.
But in fairness, there's, I think we know that from ourselves. You can have the letters after the name, but there's experts and then there's experts in the particular area that you want them to be an expert. So we were traveling around. Do you remember we went over to the Netherlands at one stage and we were trying to figure something out and we had all the experts in the room and it really felt like running a case. It was kind of like
hot tubbing everyone.
Like literally just like, well, where do you make that statement? That's very helpful. But what are you relying on when you make that statement? Oh, this paper. But I don't think that paper says that. And no, if you look at the footnote, well, let's look at the footnote. So
Exhibit B.
They'd never seen this before.
No, it was really funny. It got to the end of one meeting and it was just kind of like stony silence. And they were like, so we'll see you soon then. We all just left. But it did, funny enough, I didn't realise that those skills were going to be so useful in terms of not just accepting what people say to you at face value on the basis that, well, they have the white coat and they know, so what they are saying must be correct. You know, I think that you've seen that enough being a barrister where you test things, you know, and you don't assume and you look for the original source material before you accept what somebody's saying. I think it's funny. I think in this supplement space, particularly where it's not highly regulated, people get away with saying anything. And I think bringing that professionalism, and Aoife would have had that from her banking career as well, being really focused on detail and really focused on things being accurate and correct. That really helped, I think, in the whole process. We brought that rigor into the way we approached this whole project. And I think it stood to our credit in terms of how good the product now is. I think that's because we just kept pushing.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then probably the third thing was really the name, I think.
Yeah, and Aoife came up with the name.
It's very hard to find a name for a business, actually, bizarrely. We had lots of iterations, but I think Systole, when we landed on that, it was just perfect. It just encapsulated what it's all about, supporting one another, that Systole love, Systole trust and openness and honesty. So yeah.
And it was really funny. We had this WhatsApp group between the three of us and we were throwing in names. And I'd say we went through about 400 names. And it was really great, you know, because Aoife, Louise and I are constantly like messaging each other. I mean, we're all kind of like, I don't know, we're constantly in touch. And it was really funny. We were rocking through these names like at a rate of knots. And I had figured out how to use the intellectual property website, you know, to actually run these searches. Yep. So I remember being in the kitchen, you know, kind of running through, and Aoife came up with Systole and Louise was all thumbs up. And then we were like running it through and I couldn't believe it when it came clear. I was oh my God. And we're in. Yeah, it was so exciting. Yeah. It really was.
It really encapsulates everything.
It was a moment of inspiration.
Yes, and I'm not the creative one. I'm the banker.
No, you're very good at words. She's a really good wordsmith. Yeah. Everybody is contributing all over the place. Like it's really, we're bringing all the skills. I mean, Louise has fantastic marketing nous, and she's really consumer focused. When we were designing the box, so the box sits on the kitchen counter, and the idea is, Mel Robbins always says, if you want to introduce a new habit, have it in front of you, and if you want to get rid of something, put it away. So that's why those poor supplements that are all so ugly end up in the cupboard in the graveyard, and nobody sees them and everybody forgets to take them. So we were really conscious that we wanted it to be so beautiful that it would sit on the kitchen counter. And I remember Louise on a Zoom call pulling out her iPhone box and going, I want it to be like this, where it goes pop. So that again became a huge part of the design, you know, that we have this kind of, it's almost like the iPhone box and it's as beautiful as your cosmetics. So we've all been inputting in different ways into, collaboration is a great thing that women do.
My mum won't have anything out if it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah.
So she's going to be really pleased when I show her this. The thing you said about kind of transferable skills and your attention to detail being so helpful at kind of interrogating experts, I love that, because what I'm finding sometimes is that kind of like attention to detail, sometimes when I bring it to different contexts, can sometimes be seen as very micromanagey, or someone's like, well, that's not how it works here. And I'm like, no, but why does it work that way? Yeah. And you're used to kind of questioning things. And I've learned that actually just because something's done a certain way doesn't mean I have to do it that way.
That is so true. And I actually think that freshness of thinking is where you get innovation. So just like Aoife going to the manufacturers, you know, and talking through, and they're like, but this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Going in with, like, you know, your own ideals as to how you want something to done, and say, but why? Can't we try something else? I think actually being the consumer in this space, because we are the consumer, has really helped bring the product on, because we didn't accept the kind of the general thinking.
Yeah.
Even with our experts, we were like, no, hang on. Why can't we put in the full dose? And they were like, well, it's going to be very expensive if you put in 150 mgs of coenzyme Q10. And we were like, but will we feel different if we take this every day? Yes, you will. And will we feel better if the dose is at that level? Yes, you will. Well, that's good enough for us then. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
We'll worry about it, explaining it to people later on, why 150 mgs of coenzyme Q10 normally costs about £50 for a month's supply on its own. We were like, okay, we will explain that to people. It's a very expensive nutrient, but it is the best thing for energy. So it should be in there. I think that kind of thinking probably helped us by not accepting the consensus wisdom in nutrition.
If a woman is thinking, has an idea and wants to start something of her own, what advice would you give her?
Well, I think you should start it. If they really believe in it and see the opportunity and really committed to doing it, then, start, make a plan and just start tipping away, little baby steps and see how it goes. There's nothing worse than having regret not doing it. So we'd always say, just, have the confidence. Surround yourself with great people, talk to people. If you can, get a partner. I'm extremely lucky to have Jenny and Louise in sisterly. I'm not sure I don't think any of us really would have done it on our own. It's to have that support and to be accountable to someone else makes a huge difference. But I would say, go for it.
I know that you both had corporate careers before Sisterly, and just sort of speaking from my own experience, I think success is measured differently in the corporate world to the startup world. How did you define success for yourselves before Sisterly, and how do you define it for yourselves now?
So I think before Sisterly, success would have been the size of the check that came with the case, or the caliber of the law firm that briefed you, and your performance in court. How well you did, performed in a particular case. You'd be able to tell if it was smooth or a bit clunky. So that previously definitely was my measures of success. In sport, it would have been kind of like, if you won a race or, trophies and things like that. We were thinking about this, and definitely, I know this stands for actually the entire team. We have our red letter days when we get those reviews in. So when we pass them, we have this updates group in the team. And when we share the reviews that come in or feedback we receive from the customer, and women saying, I feel really brilliant. I'm not joking. Like, that is 100% what makes us just go, yay, this was a really good use of our time and our energy and our effort. Because hearing that, and we hear it all day, every day from people that we meet. Like, it's kind of all over the place in Dublin. People know it really well, and there's a huge amount of people using it. I mean, we've over 3,000 subscribers, and that's a lot of people talking about it. And people coming up to us all the time going, well done for doing that, feel great. It really helped. That's definitely, I think, success now.
So nothing quite like someone using what you built to make their lives better.
It's amazing. It's so rewarding. And anytime I think we have a difficult day or anything's really challenging, we always just come back to our reviews and think, look, we're helping women feel better, and that means everything.
It's funny because I think when you're in other careers, you can be really successful in it. But I think definitely both, like all of us, had this kind of little feeling inside going, there's more probably. Because it does ring a little hollow at a certain point. So you're kind of like going, okay, I don't think they're the measures that feel authentically like success, the kind of the money and the other people patting you on the back and telling you you're great. It kind of has to be something that resonates with you inside. And I think that feeling, because every job involves sacrifice, time away from family, hard work, stress. So you need to feel that the outcome of those sacrifices is something that's meaningful to you personally. And everybody has different measures of success. And you just go with what works for you. I wouldn't in any way rain on anybody else's parade. Like, if go with whatever speaks to you. And for different reasons, different things speak to people. But for us, I definitely think we're very lucky. Actually, we're all very aligned in what success looks like for us.
And sometimes it takes time to work out what's meaningful to you.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not something I would have known when I was younger.
It's personal.
It's personal. Definitely.
I think it's sometimes kind of manifesting your skills I think, like bringing your skills to bear on a situation and feeling like you're bringing all of yourself to the party. I think sometimes, definitely for me, when I was working as a barrister, there was parts of your personality you'd really have to tone down. I'm quite exuberant and chatty, and in court you have to be very contained and dispassionate. That's the way to convince, is to be very dispassionate. Whereas I have a lot of passion, so it's nice to unleash that and allow that part of your personality to be exercised.
That part you said about sort of bringing your whole self to the party. I did a human design. I don't know if you've heard of it, but you do your human design based on, it's a bit woo-woo, but it works, based on your time of birth and your date of birth. And it tells you where your skills lie, how you make decisions, where your authority comes from, all of these things that actually ended up being very, very true for me. And I don't usually believe in things like that. And this one, I was like, I'll show you later. But it was phenomenal. And I think if anyone hasn't done their human design, you should definitely do it, because it's really eye-opening. The other thing I wanted to know was what your vision was for Sisterly in the future. What's next?
The vision, well, we want to get the sachet into as many women's hands as possible, so they can also feel the benefits and feel better. So it's really about helping as many women as we can. So we've big ambitions. We really want to grow the brand. We launched in Ireland. We're in the UK, where, well, we've orders coming in from over 25 countries globally. So I think word is spreading.
Yeah.
But, we've only just started. We're only 2 years in. So we really want to see this go big and help as many women as we can.
In terms of that, we know we've a long road to go. We would love to be able to increase our order size and then pass on the savings of that to our customer. We kind of know we're really ambitious to take away all the barriers for people taking this and feeling the benefits of it. So as we grow, that's kind of the direction we want to go. And it's funny, we're not really kind of thinking, okay, bottom line, but, kind of want to really kind of ramp this up. We kind of want to get it out there. Get it into people's handbags and gym bags and onto their office desk, and just make this a really simple supplement solution for people, for these women who need it. So get it out, get it out into the world. And it's funny, as part of that process, we have had to park our own embarrassment factors, and because there's so much of I didn't even have a LinkedIn account before this. I don't think you even had an Instagram.
No Instagram.
Certainly neither of us and Louise as well. None of us were kind of documenting our lives. We're not like that at all. So you kind of have to park all the shame and embarrassment around all of that and just go, this is important. We just have to do this. And sometimes, hopefully, it'll get to a certain stage and it's sisterly. So we see it as a big collective. This isn't about the three of us. We're just doing it at this point, letting people know what was behind the setting it up of it. But then we hope we find those brilliant ambassadors and advocates who will speak for us, because we also feel, why should people believe us? We're so in the weeds of this. They have to hear it from other people, from independent people, that they're saying this really works, this is really good. So we're hoping that will grow and we'll get these women together. What we particularly love, though, is people like Liz Earle. You know? So we found out the other day from a comment that she put into Instagram that she's taking it herself and, feels great on it. And we were like, wow. We've done a few podcasts. Yeah. We've done some lives with her. But we know that she's the queen of wellness and she has at her disposal every supplement known, and would be a real wellness warrior in that supplement space. So the fact that she's choosing us to get some of her essential nutrients into her is just, yay. Yeah. It feels great.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I think that whole putting yourself out there aspect, that's difficult for so many people, including me. And someone said something, or I think I saw it on Instagram, but it really helped. It was, everything you want is on the other side of cringe.
That's a really good phrase.
That's right. It's cringe until it's not. It's cringe until it works or someone else loves it. But everything you want is on the other side of that.
That's very
barrier.
True. That's a good quote. Because I think when I'm discovering new brands, I want to see who's behind them and the why. So of course, for Sisterly, absolutely, we have to be there. So, and I think, that's been for now, that's been the biggest probably change. But it's fun. It's fun.
I loved learning about you three behind the brand. I think it's just so special to know who created it. It's sisterly for a reason, because like it's made by women.
Yeah.
You're the sisters behind the brand, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
There's a fab community that's growing out of this as well, because we believe that like nutrition is one piece of the puzzle when it comes to wellness, but there's also movement, connection, community, being a bit more mindful. So what we've ended up doing, and again, it comes from our own interests and the things that we love doing. We do like regular sea swims in the 40-foot in Dublin. The Irish Sea, it's fairly cold, but it's very good for you. And everybody pops out of the sea afterwards full of the joys. And we have a coffee we've a collaboration partner called Cocoa Brew, and we all have a coffee.
Sounds like such a good morning.
Oh, it's so
fabulous.
good.
You'll have to come over.
We do it once a month, and then we're going to be doing some here in the UK. I've been talking to some people about the Serpentine. We'd love to do a swim in the Serpentine. And we do runs, and we've done cycling events, and we've done strength mornings, and we bring hundreds of women together to do all these different things. And like the atmosphere is so good. And we're really conscious of the working woman. So we make the events kind of tight and in the morning, and we're really conscious of people's time, that they don't have half a day to give up or a full day to give up to do these things. So we try to always make it really impactful, conscious of people's time and other commitments. But women walk away from these things, and we walk away from these things.
I love them.
Full of the joys.
Yes.
Like it's brilliant. And it's funny, I think these things live on Instagram, and people might think, they may not even get the sense of the atmosphere. Like women come on their own, they talk to other women there. There's just so much, like there's just joy in the atmosphere that's created. We try to ground people a little bit, but more so by the end of it, it's just crack. It's
great
really
fun.
good.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal.
I love that. So to end, is there a quote, a book, a piece of music or art that you keep coming back to or has had an impact on you personally?
The quote that we have on our box is something we come back to every single day. So for our mothers, sisters, girlfriends, and ourselves, that is something we say all the time in our business. So whenever we've made thousands of decisions, and every time we're making a decision, this is actually true. Like we say, okay, so what would we do if, mum's going to be taking this? Yeah. So what's the right thing to do? And that really has kept us on track. That's like our North Star in every possible way. And I think it's, again, coming from Ireland, which has a population of the size of Manchester, you kind of know that you're making something that your neighbour's probably going to be taking, and, you're going to be bumping into your customer all day long. So for our mothers, sisters, girlfriends, and ourselves is something we come back to all the time. And it's had a huge influence on the way we have made decisions in this business. It's massive.
It's personal.
Yeah, it's very personal.
Yeah, there's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins that you may have read.
No, but I will.
Yeah, and it's really helped us, I think, with the business in terms of, it's all about you focus in on that one thing where you can really, add value, where you're really passionate about. And by focusing in, you can make something so much better. And I think that's very important for us, and has helped us along the way, because there's so many things we could be doing, and it's very easy to get distracted. But focusing in on what the one core product, for women, that simple sachet to help women, and just to make it the best it can be, I think has made a huge difference to us. So I think that book, and we really recommend anyone thinking about starting a business. It's a really worthwhile read.
We always call it shiny object syndrome, where you're like, then, and we could do this, and we could do this, and we could do this. And we're always like, no, at the core, we are making something for our nearest and dearest, and it must be focused on female health specifically, because we know there's a huge gap there in terms of knowledge, information, and solutions. So like, we know what we're about, and we just keep having to say now, stop with the shiny objects, put them away, focus on why we're here.
Well, Aoife, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been a joy.
Thank you so much for having us.
Come back really so enjoyable. I can ask you the rest of my questions.
We'll have another little chat now.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please do hit the follow button and leave a rating and review. It makes such a difference, and it personally just means so much to me. Thank you.